In Florida, the prolonged national recession has tourism down and unemployment up. When will the Sunshine State break through the dark clouds? That's our issue and focus with two key state leaders, Chris Thompson, President and CEO of Visit Florida, and Dr. Dale Brill from the Governor's Office of Tourism, Trade, and Economic Development. Let's get right into it. The second quarter numbers down 9.4% over a year ago. What's your concern, and are we going to come out of this?
Well, we're obviously very concerned about that. The good news is we still had 20 million people visiting the state of Florida. When we're going to come out of it, obviously the economy is a big factor. So as soon as we hit bottom there, then we feel like that the tourism side of the business will turn around.
Even at places like Disney World, Dale, where visitors are up, revenue flow is down in that second quarter. When is that going to turn around, do you think?
Sure. Well, I think that anytime you're in a recession period, you have consumers that are looking for value, and that the hoteliers and the restaurateurs and those associated with the tourism industry are responding to that. I think there's always a great concern on behalf of the tourism industry, and I've heard this coming out of Visit Florida, that there's a difference between promoting yourself as a value destination as opposed to a discount destination. And I think that Florida just needs to hang tough. I think that we will return. We did in the 80s recessions and the early 90s as well. It'll bounce back, and you can't sacrifice the brand on your way to just sacrificing that for anything that'll take to get somebody down here.
Besides the brand, then, our product beyond reproach, 1,000-mile coastline, the attractions that are unrivaled, are we still comfortable with our product?
Absolutely. The best in the world, and continues to expand.
And let's talk a little bit, though, about in-state tourism. Floridians traveling in Florida on vacations. That's one rosy picture.
That's been one of the bright spots of all this. Travel by residents has been up double digits all of last year when we actually realized that we were in a full recession, and then the first 2 quarters of this year it's been up double digits.
What kind of initiatives are you both working on with the industry to try and boost tourism and diversify for economic development and jobs purposes? Dale?
I think it may be helpful for the folks watching to understand that the relationship between OTED and Visit Florida serves as the public-private partnership, and OTED funds that mechanism. So we manage the contract. We are the liaison with the governor to make sure that he's comfortable, and again, he's always the first cheerleader for Florida's tourism industry. But we really look to Visit Florida that has that combination of the industry leadership to drive those specific initiatives. And so I think that's really helpful for folks to know that folks in Tallahassee aren't trying to solve this. It's the people that are scattered throughout the state that understand what it's going to take in the trenches to get things turned around.
With the revenue shortfalls state government has faced and budget cuts across the board, there have been cuts in the promotion budget for something like Visit Florida and tourism. How serious is that?
Well, pretty significant. We were cut 30% of the public side of our public-private partnership, and we certainly understand the pressure that was on the legislature and having to figure out how do you solve problems of more demand with less money. But it's just required us to be more innovative, more creative, and find different ways to do the exact same thing. We have less money, less people, no less expectations, so it just kind of puts us all to the test.
But with about 1 million jobs registering in the tourism industry for the 2010 legislative session, even if the state revenue shortfalls continue, are you going for more money?
Well, this is a tough time for me, certainly not to preempt my boss's budget recommendations. So for job security, I think I can hint, though, that both looking at the situation now, the governor's support of the tourism industry and economic development has been steadfast. Even with the budget cuts, as a percentage basis of OTED's total budget, tourism funding still is at a second highest it's been in 10 years. So what that then speaks to is a dialogue that is going on, needs to go on between the governor's office and the legislature to say, okay, we've taken the hits, let's see if we can't reinvest and bring this thing out as quickly as we possibly can. There are some great stories as far as business interest in coming to the state, Ron. I think there's a great story in the potential of small business in this state. I'm convinced, absolutely convinced, because history has demonstrated it, not that I'm that smart, but small business is going to be the engine that's going to bring jobs back to the state of Florida. So what are the innovative programs that we can do on a government funding basis that will drive that capital back into the system so we can grow the economy?
Excellent point. What about the conferences, national conferences, trade conferences that come to Florida in big droves? Those numbers are down too. What are we doing to boost that?
So that's been a significant down problem with the tourism industry now. The meetings and convention side of the business is taking a huge hit. A lot of that is due to some things coming out of Washington that weren't quite favorable for us, but working really hard to try to make sure that people realize that meetings in Florida are still great values, that still got great product, and pretty much giving them permission to continue to bring meetings here.
All right, in some closing comments, what would you want Florida taxpayers to know about how important this industry is to their economic well-being? Dale?
Well, tourism has been the bread and butter for decades. I mean, ever since Henry Flagler came down with the railroad and had his first strategic sessions. I mean, we had both this consumer tourism and you had the first official meetings down here, and that has continued. And tourism has also spawned innovation. I think I'm concerned with people who see tourism as, well, you know, we ought to ignore that and set that aside. And I think that folks who end up living here started out as tourists. I mean, that number is astronomical. It used to be between 85 and 90% of those folks who end up living here started out as tourists. So that connection between tourism, the sunshine economy is strong, and we need to treat them both together and inextricably linked.
And how wonderful is it to be leading Visit Florida in the toughest economy of our lifetimes?
Oh, well, so certainly a challenge, but we're up for the challenge, and the staff and everybody and the board is real excited about the opportunity.
Well, Chris Thompson, Dale Brill, thank you both very much. Concerned but optimistic about the future of tourism and economic development in Florida. Thank you very much. Go to floridatrend.com for an update on business news here in the Sunshine State. Thank you for joining us.